The security guard wouldn't even meet his eyes when he said it. But those words cut deeper than anything Daniel Carter had heard in years. Standing beneath the warm golden lights of the Grand Hotel entrance, holding his little boy's small hand, wearing the only suit he owned, he was told he didn't belong there. Not tonight. Not at this gala. And as the doors slowly closed in front of him, something inside Daniel began to crack, until one single moment changed everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unseen struggles, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means more than you know. Daniel Carter hadn't always been the kind of man people looked past. Years ago, he carried dreams in every step he took. Dreams of building something that mattered, of giving his family a life full of dignity. But life has a way of reshaping people without asking permission. After his wife passed away without warning, Daniel was left alone with his 5-year-old son, Ethan, and a world that suddenly felt too heavy to carry on his own. Bills stacked up like quiet threats. Jobs came and went, and every single day became a silent battle between survival and exhaustion. Yet through all of it, Ethan remained his light. The boy had eyes full of wonder, always asking questions about everything around him, always certain that his father was the strongest man alive. Daniel never corrected him. Instead, he wore that belief like armor, even on the days he felt like he was barely holding together. The invitation to the gala arrived unexpectedly. A crisp white envelope slipped under the door of his small apartment, addressed to him, Daniel Carter, a former junior architect at a firm he had walked away from years ago when his wife's illness forced him to step back from everything. The company had since grown into one of the most successful architectural firms in the city, and they were hosting a grand charity gala packed with the powerful, the influential, and the wealthy. At first, Daniel was convinced it was a mistake. But something deep inside him whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was a chance to step back into a world he once belonged to. He didn't have a babysitter, and he certainly couldn't afford one. So he made a quiet decision. Ethan was coming with him. He dressed the boy carefully, smoothing down his little jacket, tying a slightly crooked tie, and reminding him to stay close. Ethan lit up with excitement, treating the whole evening like an adventure rather than a gamble. When they arrived, the hotel looked like something straight out of a dream. Lights shimmered against marble walls, expensive cars lined the front entrance, and elegantly dressed guests drifted inside as though they belonged to a completely different world. Daniel paused for just a moment, his grip tightening around Ethan's hand, but he pushed himself forward. He had every right to be there. At least that's what he kept telling himself. But reality didn't agree. The guard stopped them almost immediately. His eyes moved quickly over Daniel's worn shoes, his slightly outdated suit, and then landed on Ethan. There was no warmth there, no curiosity, only quiet judgment. The invitation was examined, frowned over, and dismissed with a slow shake of the head. He didn't say it outright, but the message was clear enough. This event wasn't meant for people like them. Daniel felt heat rise in his face. He tried to explain, to push back, to insist that the invitation was real, but the words came out weaker than he intended. Around him, nearby guests glanced over, some whispering, others pretending not to notice. Ethan looked up at him, confused but still trusting, and that look stung far worse than the rejection itself. For a moment, Daniel thought about walking away. Maybe he truly didn't belong here anymore. Maybe that chapter of his life was closed for good. He turned slightly, ready to leave, when Ethan gently pulled on his hand. The boy pointed toward the grand hall, his eyes going wide at the music and laughter spilling out from inside. There was no embarrassment in his expression, no hesitation, only pure, innocent excitement. And somehow, that simple little gesture stopped Daniel completely in his tracks. He wasn't doing this just for himself. He was doing it for his son. Pulling together whatever confidence he had left, Daniel tried one more time. His voice steadied as he asked the guard to double-check, to call someone from inside. Anyone who could confirm the invitation. The guard sighed, clearly frustrated. But before he could say another word, something unexpected happened. Across the hall, a woman stopped cold. She had been standing near the center of the room, surrounded by influential guests, her presence drawing attention without any effort. Olivia Bennett, CEO of the firm hosting the gala, was known for her sharp instincts, her decisive leadership, and her rare ability to read a room instantly. She almost never missed a thing, and in that exact moment her eyes found the entrance. Found Daniel. Found Ethan. The glass slipped from her hand. It hit the marble floor with a sharp, ringing crack that sliced right through the music, shattering into pieces as a hush spread across the room. Conversations stopped, heads turned, but Olivia didn't notice any of it. Her eyes stayed locked on the small boy standing beside a man who looked like he didn't belong. Except something about that man felt deeply, painfully familiar. Memories came rushing back like a storm. Years ago, long before she became the powerful figure everyone now admired, Olivia had been a struggling intern. Overlooked, underestimated, and constantly on the edge of giving up. It was Daniel Carter, a junior architect back then, who had seen something in her when no one else bothered to look. He stayed late to help her work through complex designs, encouraged her when she doubted herself, and stood up for her when others brushed her ideas aside. He had believed in her when she couldn't even believe in herself. And now here he was, standing outside her event, being turned away. Without a second thought, Olivia moved. She walked with purpose toward the entrance, her heels sharp against the marble floor, her expression unreadable but intense. The crowd parted almost instinctively, sensing the shift in her energy. By the time she reached the door, the guard had already begun dismissing Daniel again. But Olivia's voice stopped everything. Clear, calm, unmistakable. The guard stepped back at once, his confidence gone in an instant. Olivia didn't even glance at him. Instead, she looked directly at Daniel. Really looked at him, seeing past the worn suit, the tired eyes, and all the years that had changed him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then recognition settled between them, quiet and undeniable. What followed wasn't loud or dramatic, but it carried more weight than anything said on a stage that night. Olivia personally welcomed Daniel and Ethan inside, her actions saying everything that words couldn't. The same people who had ignored him just moments before now watched in stunned silence as the CEO of the whole event treated this man with unmistakable respect. Inside the gala, everything felt different. Daniel still felt out of place, but Ethan's joy filled every gap between doubt and hope. The boy was wide-eyed at everything. The lights, the music, the tables overflowing with food, completely unaware of the tension that had just played out at the front door. Olivia stayed nearby, making sure they were comfortable, occasionally glancing at Daniel with a look that carried both gratitude and something deeper, something that didn't need words. As the evening moved forward, the story slowly began to shift. People who had looked right through Daniel earlier now stopped to talk. Old conversations picked back up, forgotten connections came back to the surface, and little by little, almost without anyone noticing, the man who had been turned away at the door began to reclaim a piece of himself he had believed was gone forever. But the most powerful moment of the night came when Olivia stepped onto the stage. The room went completely still. She spoke with a steady voice, though emotion ran just beneath every word. She didn't talk about business milestones or company goals. Instead, she told a story about a man who once believed in her when the rest of the world looked the other way. About how easy it is to judge a person by what they're wearing instead of who they are. About how simple it is to forget the people who quietly helped shape everything you've become. She never said his name. She didn't have to. Everyone in that room already knew. Daniel stood there, one hand resting gently on Ethan's shoulder, completely overwhelmed. For the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. He felt remembered. And more than anything else, he felt like he mattered. By the time the night wound down, doors had begun to open. Not out of pity, but out of genuine recognition. Olivia offered him a path back, not as a charity case but as someone whose talent had never actually gone anywhere. It was a new beginning. One Daniel hadn't let himself hope for in a very long time. But more than the opportunity, more than the gala, more than any of it, it was a reminder that sometimes the world doesn't see you until the right person finally does. Before this story comes to a close, take a moment and type, "Kindness still exists," in the comments if you believe one small act can completely change someone's life. Because what happened that night wasn't really about a gala or a CEO or even a second chance. It was about dignity, about resilience, about the quiet, unshakable strength of a father who refused to give up, even when the world kept telling him he wasn't enough. And if this story moved you even a little, don't scroll past it. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this today, and subscribe for more stories that bring us back to what actually matters. Because somewhere out there, someone just like Daniel is still standing in front of a closed door, waiting for it to open.